Hey, everybody, Bryce Coon here with a crowded booth, and college football is almost here. Week one is essentially here. Week zero was last week. But hey, before we talk specifically about the games, we got to correct this notion that Clemson isn't an elite program. They are, and Ralph and I are going to tell you why today on today's episode of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Coon.
What is up, party people? My name is Bryce Coon. This is Ralph Leary. College football is just about here. Ralph, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm so excited. You have no idea.
Well, don't sound too excited.
Well, you want me to sound excited? I will. I'll start screaming and dancing around the place. I mean, last Saturday when there was week zero, I know people were excited about college football. You were in Macon. I had to work. And I got off work, came straight home, hopped on the couch over here, and watched college football. It was Jacksonville State and Stephen F. Austin. There was no one else to watch, but that's what I watched. I was so excited for football.
Look, and there's a reason to be. I mean, look, we had some intriguing games, but this is really the week where each day, starting on Thursday, we have some really good college football games. We're going to talk more about that. Make sure to stay tuned to thecrowdedbooth.com for more information there. But we're really here to talk today about, Ralph, is the disrespect that a lot of people are giving Clemson. Look, now I know the number 4 in the program, but people continue to talk about the massive drop-off between the top 3 teams and the rest of the field, which I do kind of get. Like, Alabama is out of this world.
Alabama, Ohio State are out of this world.
They're out of this world. Yeah, they're out of this world. Georgia is still going to be an elite program this year. They've got to replace some things defensively, but
it's the saying that Alabama has. It's not a rebuild; it's a reload.
It's a reload.
That's what Georgia's now being able to do. That's what Ohio State is doing. That's what Clemson's been doing for years. They don't drop off. There's not drop offs for them.
Well, and I want to say this because there's some talking points, in my opinion, that have held true the last season. There's obviously the break that you get playing an ACC schedule and not being in the SEC. But I think Clemson has earned the right, let's even get funny here. Let's say they've earned their stripes, Ralph, over the past decade or so.
Absolutely.
Because to me, there's nothing fluky about Clemson's run since 2011. This is a program that has not won less than 10 games since 2010 when they won 6, Ralph. That is incredibly hard to do. Like, that's ridiculous. That's the sign of an elite program. And so I think we need to take a step back and just take a breath, understand some things, because they still get a double-digit win season last year. This was arguably the worst team that they had in the past decade. And they went 10-3, Ralph. Now, look, there's a lot of things they're going to replace, both coordinators. Obviously, we're going to see next Monday night against Georgia Tech what that looks like. But this is a team that still has a ton of weapons. To me, they've got probably the best defensive line, at least in the ACC, a top 5 defensive line in the country. This is a really, really good group. And so I think we need to pump the brakes on the fact that saying, is Clemson done or anything like that? Because when you ask, and we did this with Auburn, when you ask what does like success look like for them, Ruff, they had a down year and they won 10 games. Like, there are 131 FBS programs in the country, 130 outside of Clemson. I'm willing to bet there are 120, 25 that would like to have the season that Clemson had last year.
Yeah, and I just want to comment one thing for people who say, winning 10 games every year that's just average. It's not really exceeding everything. Last time Alabama didn't win 10 games was 2007 when they went 7-6. So, yeah, what they're doing is, Alabama's obviously the top tier. Clemson's right behind them. And it's nothing, to shake off that what Alabama's done, because what they're done is unreal with Nick Saban. But Dabo Swinney has done some insane things at Clemson, and they're going to keep doing insane things until Dabo goes to Alabama as the head coach in 30 years.
Well, look, this team struggled on offense, and there's no doubt about that. We're going to talk about that. They suffered a ton of injuries to the NFL caliber defensive line, including 3 or 4 of those guys that were banged up throughout the year. Look, but their 3 losses, Ralph, were to the eventual national champion Georgia, who we know had a historical defense,
Mhm.
a road game against the ACC champion in Pitt, who had one of the most high-profile offenses, a Heisman candidate and finalist in Kenny Pickett, and the best receiver in the country, Jordan Addison. And then they lost in double overtime to one of the best teams in the ACC and one of my sleeper picks this year in North Carolina State. Like, that's not a bad
On the
resume
road.
on the road in double overtime. So I want to say
That's a hard
this.
place to play.
I want to say this. If Clemson can just be average offensively this year, Ralph, I think they're a college ball playoff and ACC championship team again. And I think that we'll look at last year's just like a quirky blip. And so let's talk about it real quick. But before we do, Ralph, we need to let our people know about Rigged and Ready Fishing. Now, listen, this is a great apparel company you need to check out. It's a brand that is for on and off the water. You can use code CrowdedBooth10 for your 10% off your order at riggedandreadyfishing.com. I got a cool t-shirt. And look, it's not just like your typical fishing apparel that you're like, oh, if I'm not a fisherman, wear it. Like, I don't fish a lot, but they've got some really, really cool stuff, some great hats, some great t-shirts. So make sure to check them out over at riggedandreadyfishing.com. So, Ref, let's get back to this because I think it's really important that we know the defense is good. Miles Murphy, Brian Brees, Xavier Thomas is obviously hurt. Tyler Davis, KJ Henry, like it's ridiculous what they have. They're going to be really, really good. Andrew Makuba, the safety, who's really a stud. But I think offensively is where we have to talk about this. And it all starts with DJ U, we're going to refer to him as, because we just don't need to do that. And Cabe Klubnik. Because I'll say this, and this is from what I've heard. Obviously, I've been hearing some stuff with the first game being against Georgia Tech. Is a couple things. When Clemson is right, Ralph, what are they doing? Running with the quarterback. Remember when Trevor Lawrence would take off and how deadly he was with that? Like, the guy was pretty fast. DJ never showed a willingness to run last year, and he was just a little too big. Supposedly he slimmed down and he showed more of a willingness. That's a part of the offense that they could get better at, that they could be better at. And if it doesn't work out, Ralph, you've got one of the top freshmen in the country in Cabe Klubnik. I know you're really high on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're going to have to rely, when you look at this schedule, on the quarterback position as much as people want to believe they have to. Because they have Will Shipley, Kobe Pace, and Phil Maffa. That's a three-headed monster running back, Ralph. The third string guy, I think they're all could be number one guys at different schools. How big is he? Let the fans know.
The
Phil Maffa?
6'1", 230.
That's a hoss.
That is not a running back.
Will Shipley is a big guy in himself and one of the best athletes in the country. You got to believe their offensive line is going to be better. They returned 4 starters. And then they've got some, I'll say it, Ralph, they've got some unproven and some injury-prone guys in the wide receiver room. But they're really going to be able to rely on that run early on in the season and develop a quarterback. And how many times we talk about elite programs having to do that? You don't know what you're going to get. But so you just rely on one thing you do know to get through maybe an easier portion of your schedule until you really got it, rubber hits the road. And I want to say this, and I know you're going to go into the Klubnik talk, and let's do that. But DJU, the kid was a 5-star for a reason. He's talented. He's just got to figure it out.
Just one comment about him. For the people who say he's not a good quarterback. 2020, Trevor Lawrence goes down with COVID before the Notre Dame game. At Notre Dame. At Notre Dame, game day. Hostile environment. DJU has to start that game as a true freshman in a hostile environment. Is a national championship team, a contender that year. 29 of 44 for 439 yards and 2 touchdowns, not one interception. 13 carries for 2 yards. He was sacked a lot. His offensive line was banged up during that game.
Yeah,
we didn't see that last year because I don't think he was comfortable with everything going on last year. I think he stepped into a spotlight that you got to step up behind Trevor Lawrence, one of the greatest college quarterbacks we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was.
Yeah.
It's
you're
a big
right.
role. It's a big role. I mean, you got to date back to when Auburn lost Cam Newton and he went to the draft, and whoever filled that role in was not ready. I mean, they were not ready at all.
Yeah. Ref, I want to take a look at this, if you don't mind, real quick, because I think it's really important for us to look. You can see the schedule right here and what they have. They're playing Georgia Tech on the road. Technically, it's a neutral site game, but it's going to be a home game for Georgia Tech. Then they play Furman. They play Louisiana Tech. The first 3 games, they're, in my opinion, going to be able to lean on the run and be able to get away with maybe average quarterback play, not subpar quarterback play, because I will say this, and this is, me covering Georgia Tech. They had subpar quarterback play last year, Ralph, and that game was 14-8. So Georgia Tech will be able to do some things if it's bad quarterback play, in my opinion. But if they just get average quarterback play, like he's just efficient, doesn't light up the world, manages the game, they're going to be able to go 3-0. And then you look, they're going to be at Wake Forest, NC State. Those games could be tricky. The NC State game at home, that to me, that's their first real test, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's a win because they're playing at home.
They're tough to beat at home, Ralph. They're tough to beat at home. So I want to go back to it. We kind of look at the schedule, how it rounds out. Boston College, at Florida State, Syracuse, at Notre Dame. That's going to be a good game. Louisville, Miami at home. So to me, your toughest 3 games, and we don't have to do them in order. Home against North Carolina State, maybe at Notre Dame, and home against Miami.
Yeah.
Home against Miami. And then,
Well,
depending on what South Carolina.
South Carolina could be a toss-up if Clemson's defense elite. And that's all you need to know about Clemson right now. Is their defense is going to be elite every year. Now they do have a new defense coordinator. Venables is gone, so it could.
Well, they got a new OC and DC.
Yeah, it's going to be different for them, but I think it's going to be okay. Clemson's got the talent there. It's at some point you can look at college teams and say, well, they don't need to be. They need a better coach because they got too much talent that it can't be. That needs a better coach. At some point, talent takes over, and they just start working well with each other. Clemson's going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're not going to go 8-4.
And I'll say this too about that because you do bring up a good point. We give the benefit of the doubt because they've earned it to Alabama of replacing within, coordinators and analysts. Georgia's starting to get there because they, Mel Tucker, they had to replace Mel Tucker, they had to replace new OC and all this kind of stuff in DC. Dan Lanning, and they got Will Muschamp and obviously the other Glenn Schumann. But the reason we haven't had to give Clemson the benefit of the doubt is because those 2 guys, Venables and Tony Elliott, stayed so long. Mm-hmm. But I think that you have to recognize, and to me, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because Clemson is built like an elite program. Like they just are. And I'm more willing to say, I feel more comfortable saying, and this is just me, and it may not be, the overwhelming opinion, is that Clemson is built to handle this thing, and 2021 is just a fluke. Because what happened last year with their offense was one of the most bizarre things in college football. Nobody expected them to be that bad. And like you said this, it wasn't a talent problem. It was just this weird mixture of to me, it was the perfect storm hit them. The perfect storm hit their offense. And Ralph, the defense and subpar offense play was a 10-3 season.
Yeah,
I mean that's what's cool. That's how it's an elite program. A elite defense and a average to subpar offense carried them to a 10-3 season. And I'll say this too: they got a little bit of a dress rehearsal in the Cheez-It Bowl without Tony Elliott, without Brent Venables. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot to overcome. But I'm just going to give. I'm more comfortable giving the benefit of the doubt to a program like Clemson that's built on a strong foundation. We just haven't had to see them do it yet because those 2 coordinators stayed so long. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you have a team like Clemson the past few years with the same coordinators and same head coach, and it feels like they have a quarterback that stays for 3 to 4 years with Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. You can date back to Taj Boyd. I mean, they've had the same quarterback with the same coordinators for at least 3 to 4 years every season, and now this is where you have that drop off, like you said. It not be a drop off, but a dress rehearsal. It's going to be different for them. It's going to be new offense schemes, new defensive schemes, but it's the same talent, the same players out there from last year. You have a few guys gone on both sides of the ball, but you have new talent come in every year. This is how you rebuild, or you don't you reload. You don't rebuild anymore. There's no, we have we have to start a redshirt junior for quarterback this year because he's, we don't have a quarterback coming in that's ready until next year. And no, Clemson does not have that problem. They have a quarterback who's a 5-star out of high school, and then they have another one right behind him who's, I think, is ready. I mean, I've been saying it. Cade Klubnik, if DJU is not ready and cannot answer the call this year, Cade Klubnik can. I think he played at the top level of high school football you can in 7A Texas and was unreal. And the 2 games I got to see him on ESPN and TV, the kid looked like he was just having fun and winning at a high level rate. I mean, just winning blowout wins. And this kid's unreal. I think he's got talent. He got great coaching. Clemson's going to be okay.
Yeah. And I'll offer this too, because you're exactly right. And Klubnik is a guy that can rise up and take over the gig. I don't doubt that. But to me, DJ is like way too talented to really not be special, because you said it earlier, Ralph. You don't throw for 781 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks, and 2 rushing touchdowns as a freshman in back-to-back games against Boston College and Notre Dame, who was a playoff team that year, without having the skill set and the talent to be great. I think last year he was just really indecisive. Didn't keep things moving, looked out of sorts. But look, this defense is going to be amazing. The offensive line is full of veterans. The skill guys in my position are, in my opinion, are really, really good. If DJ plays anything close to his potential, this team is a team that's going to be in the playoff. Like I just think that they will, because they have the talent. They really remind me, and I don't want to get in trouble with this, but they really remind me of a potential situation with 2017 Georgia, where like the defense was full of veterans, and they had a quarterback, not a controversy, but they had a young starter, Eason a la DJ, who wasn't like flattering their first year. And they had 2 solid backups, like really solid backups. We saw what happened, a solid run game, the 3-headed monster. I think it could carry them to at least the ACC title in the playoff, in my opinion. So, yeah. You ready for football, man?
Dude, I'm so ready. Ready.
It's going to be a lot of fun indeed. And what you need to do is, you've made it this far in the video, we appreciate it. Give us a like. That helps us out a lot. Subscribe down below, set up the notifications, follow us on social media at The Crowded Booth, anywhere that you want to. And also, 6 p.m. Sunday night, live and in person here on the YouTube channel. We're going to be taking calls, and it's going to be fun. We hope it's fun. We don't want to get on there and be embarrassed because no one called. So please call. It'll be a lot of fun.
If you don't
we
call,
can't wait to
we'll
talk
find
to
you.
We can't wait to talk to you. Appreciate it as well. Ralph, as always, can't wait to keep talking to you throughout the week, brother.
Always, man. Always.
Oh.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Coon.